Let's take a look back at that 50-burger that Jayson Tatum put up on the Hornets just yesterday.
He just on a different level right now.
Finds Tatum. Oh. He's getting tired of putting that hand up and kissing the crowd there.
It's almost like he's like, another one, right?
No, seriously.
Oh, goodness.
That was fun to watch.
Yeah. There's nothing you can do with number 0 playing like this. Oh, man. I mean, might as well go for 50
Yeah, I was just going to say,
you got 48. Look at the crowd. They know it, too.
Yeah.
Crowd on their feet. Celtic fans everywhere. Tatum got it.
51 points for Tatum.
All blessed and honored to be able to play and represent Dr. King and his legacy and his family. Without him, I wouldn't be able to do what I do and live out my dream. It's been a while since I scored 50, so I needed that one.
Were they in Charlotte or Boston, the way fans were screaming in there? Because I really could not tell watching that game. Time now for Bringing the Heat, brought to you by Eastern Propane and Oil. They're in your neighborhood. Last night's game was a 6th time Jayson Tatum has scored 50 points in the regular season or postseason. That number goes to 7 if you include the playing game.
Which we should.
As you can see, he's already on top of the Celtics all-time list. That leads us right into Forsberg's 4 on Forsberg. Jayson Tatum just doing Jayson Tatum type of things. And at this point, it's just like, what more can Jayson Tatum do?
I don't know, but it did get me thinking. Like, as good as it was yesterday, I started thinking, what are my 4 favorite Tatum games of all time? And it didn't even crack the list, which is crazy because he was super good in that game. And it might springboard him to a whole new heights here in the second half of the season. But I had to go back into the lab, back into the database, and check out all his past games. And I've come up with 4 that I like. And I don't know if they're in any order. They're probably 1 to 4 because that's just how my brain operates. So let's start. Number 1, May 13th, 2022, 46 points versus the Bucks in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Semifinals. And now you think back. Celtics went down 3-2 in that, lost, blew a 14-point fourth quarter lead in Game 5 at home. You go to back up to Milwaukee. All of a sudden, you're kind of like, is this it? And he goes out there against Giannis and outduels him. Giannis had 44 and 20 in that game. Ooh, not a bad game, but Tatum goes for 46, 17 of 32, 7 of 15 beyond the three-point arc, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, a plus 21 in a must-have game. And I just felt like this was sort of, Tatum has had a lot of moments, and a lot of the moments are going to be on this list. Yeah. But I thought this was like, there's an MVP on the other side. Here I come. I'm going to will my team further into the playoffs, and to do it on the road in that atmosphere was wild.
I think the stakes of that game also takes that up the list because of the fact that you're in the Eastern Conference Semifinals going up against Giannis, who also had a great night. I mean, you talk about a double-double. What was it, 46 and 20? And just
44 and 20.
44 and 20. So, I mean, Jayson Tatum saw that, and he was like, I got to show up in this game. What's coming up next?
All right, so number 2, I'm just gonna admit it. It's probably in order here. April 30th, 2021, he puts up 60 versus the Spurs. Ties Larry Bird's franchise record. Actually, one of the cool things I think about this game is that he kind of got hung on 60 at the end. You didn't get to break Larry Bird's record. You just got to match it. And a lot of people look at me and say, well, Chris, you got to go to overtime in that game. Yeah, but he had 50 in regulation, so it checks all the boxes of being a great game. The other thing, Celtics were down 32 points in this game, rallied from 31 down in the third quarter, and it came right after Tatum had scored 53 versus Minnesota a few weeks earlier. That was, I think, one of his first 50-point games, and it was like, whoa, okay, so we kept waiting for him to just hit that 50 plateau, and here he does it. In against San Antonio, this ridiculous comeback, gets it to overtime, win the game. I mean, it was remarkable to watch, and Deuce gets a piggyback for it.
Of course we have to have Deuce in some way, shape, or form in Forsberg's 4, really in the show at all. He's got to make some type of an appearance. What's coming in next?
All right, number 3, February 23rd, 2020. The number's going to surprise you, only 41. But it was against the Lakers. So here it is. It was simpler times, Amina. This was right before the pandemic descended upon us all.
When was that?
I know. It's so funny. I'm sitting there, I'm going, this was 3 years ago? It feels like 20 years ago. But Tatum goes out there head-to-head against LeBron. Ooh. Now, mind you, what's incredible to say is that we kept waiting for Tatum to get 40 points. Mm-hmm. And he had done it just the month before against New Orleans. And we're like, oh, wow, here we go. Like, he's had a bunch of 30-point games. Now he's over 40. But he goes out there against LeBron. They actually lost this game. LeBron hit a turnaround fadeaway at the end over Tatum. But it was just this moment where you were like, wait, Tatum can go out there in L.A., against LeBron and throw fists and be right there with him. And then at the end, LeBron ends up posting on Instagram this photo of the two of them leaning on the scorer's table with the caption, "That boy to the left of me is an absolute problem." And we kept wondering if absolute problem was going to be like Tatum's new nickname or whatever. But it was more like, okay, this young player has elevated to a level. He had dunked on LeBron as a rookie, but this was totally different. This was going toe-to-toe in a marquee matchup. And Tatum held it up over there. And I just thought this was like the next step in the progression. And now we've just seen, there's been 3 more leaps since then. But in that moment, I was like, ooh, we got something here.
Praise from LeBron James. Also constant praise from Kevin Durant as well. Clearly, Jayson Tatum is doing something right and elevating in his career. Last but not least, what do we got?
It's funny you bring up Kevin Durant because that's where we're going next.
Oh, look at that.
Versus Brooklyn on May 28, 2021. Now, you'll remember this. This was a gentleman's sweep by the Brooklyn Nets in the playoffs. Jaylen Brown wasn't out there. Robert Williams wasn't out there. And it was sort of Tatum against the world trying to just will the injured Celtics in this playoff series where they were clearly overmatched. And I thought, but it was still a moment because you think about this. He had that 50 in that play-in game just to get them into this round. Then he goes out there and against Durant puts up 50 points. Again, we talk about moments. Oh, hey, Blake Griffin's in there too. We talk about moments and steps in his career. Even though it was the only bright spot in that playoff, I sat there and said, okay, Tatum has taken yet another step here. He's able to go out there. This was when Ime and everybody and Brad was telling him, like, don't back down from anybody. Like, it started right there in that playoff series, continued the next year when Ime challenged him, and you just felt like this was the next step in his evolution.
That was such a great message, though, at the time from Ime Udoka to Jayson Tatum. He's like, I know you respect these guys, but at the same time, you're playing at the same level. And to hear that, I know Jayson Tatum knows he's a great player, but I think in his mind, watching guys like Kevin Durant and also LeBron James, he's like, am I really on that level? And then Ime had to be like, yeah, you are definitely on that level.
So I know Forsberg 4 was all about Jayson Tatum.
Right.
Jaylen Brown's injured right now. I can't shoehorn him into this segment, but I can shoehorn him in because if we're talking about all-star level performances, the Celtics were kind enough to send over this double feature, and that's the whole theme of their all-star push with Jaylen and Jayson. It's all movie themed if you open it up.
I love this. This is my favorite part when we open it up.
Oh my gosh, but not only that, there are a whole bunch of goodies in here. So Amina, do you want popcorn?
Oh yeah.
Do you want
look, there's some green candy in there also.
Chocolate peppermint.
Oh my goodness.
The sour rope, my daughter got this.
That is my favorite. That's one of my favorite candies.
All you. We got some shirts, we got pins, we got and so I'm gonna just hold up the t-shirt for last year. But the moral of this story is Jayson Tatum has been really good. Jaylen Brown has been good before this injury too, so we need everybody to go vote and make sure they end up in the All-Star game. And I think you probably started on social media. Deuce wants to go too. So make it happen.
He's already campaigning for his dad and Uncle Jaylen Brown to go out there to Utah.